Hey guys, what's up? It's Lizzy Jane, and we are back. I've fucking missed you guys. I have the Last Heroes boys on the podcast this week. I snagged them right after they played Red Rocks a few weeks ago with Seven Lions and the whole Ophelia Records family. They have been taking the melodic bass scene by storm. We talk about a new huge musical project that they've been preparing, how the two boys met, and everything else in between. Don't forget, I just released a new single called Chemical Love this past Friday with Adam Jazim and Mercedes Arnhorn. Definitely one of my favorite singles I've worked on thus far. There was a lot of emotion and time put into the track. So if you haven't checked it out, go and listen to it on your favorite streaming platform and send me a DM. Let us know what you think, because, always eager to hear how you guys are interpreting the art that we release and that we make and put out there into the world. I have just opened up a few new one-on-one sessions for my Patreon. If you're interested in that, we've got edits, sound packs, group lessons. Just click the link below. Go check out my Patreon. And without further ado, I'm super pumped for you guys to hear this conversation. We are back on schedule. I have some massive guests lined up for the podcast, and I cannot wait for you guys to check it out. I hope you guys have an awesome fucking week, and you're tuning into my podcast with Last Heroes. The show today was brought to you by Vitaplur E-Boost Gum. With no pill to take or powders to mix, Vitaplur E-Boost Gum is a first-of-its-kind energy rave supplement that provides magnesium, electrolytes, and antioxidants while you chew. Vitaplur is the perfect complement to my active lifestyle, whether it's at the festival, on the road touring, or hitting the gym. Chew Vitaplur and dance with confidence. Use code LizzyJane for 10% off any order.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
For those listening, this is Lost Heroes. I'm just kidding. This is Last. I was thinking about it because he was like, I think they made a tweet that said, she's a 10, but she thinks we're like Lost Heroes or some shit. This is the Last Heroes boys, and they had their Red Rocks debut, right?
Actually,
second time.
Second time.
Okay, yesterday.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, and then you guys are both native to the Denver, Colorado area. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure growing up around such a historic venue, such a historic just musical city, it's so cool to see what has happened in the last decade for music here.
Absolutely, yeah. We both started making music around 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago. I feel like at this point.
Okay.
And so yeah, we grew up going to getting to see all of the the big Denver artists that are doing super well now. Getting to see them play 100 cap shows and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a good time. I remember seeing Illenium in my hometown, Colorado Springs, at this tiny venue, and it was a good time.
It's so crazy. I was at the 1111 office, which is a local management group. And I was looking at the big gigantic Rowdy Town poster flyers.
That was our first Red Rocks.
Oh, no way. Okay. I was looking at it, and one lineup from almost 10, I would say a good 8 to 10 years ago was it was Big G, and then it was Illenium, Marshmello, Lewis the Child, and then somebody else, and I'm holy.
Casbo was on it.
Yes, yes.
That was our
was
first
that the
Red
one?
Rocks show
Okay.
that we went to, yeah.
That's huge. So how did you guys meet? And were you guys childhood friends or just concert goers?
Yeah, we initially met on SoundCloud.
Okay. Yeah, I mean SoundCloud's the SoundCloud black hole. You're just kind of looking, and it's a perfect place to message people and be your music's sick and you have 0 followers.
Yeah, it kind of just started out as I think Brian reached out to me and was hey, let's, because we were each making music individually, and it was hey, let's make a song together. And so we did that. We're hey, this is really fun. Let's just make it a thing. Let's do, set up this duo. And then we realized oh, you live an hour away from me. Let's hang out.
Oh, that's so sick.
And that was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. So we basically grew up through high school together.
That's awesome. The internet's a crazy place. Yeah. And especially to be oh shit, you're in the same state as me, especially now because with TikTok and every social media platform, you can basically connect and make music with whoever the fuck you want to.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's super different and cool to be able to be in the same studio as somebody when you're working, because that creates a totally different environment.
Definitely.
So as far as like the dynamic of you both being a duo, I know like within the duos in EDM, everybody kind of has a different structure. Like some people, one of them only makes music, the other one tours. Like it's honestly a smart ass idea besides you guys having to split the And so do you guys both produce? Is it a very collaborative effort, or traveling? Do only one of you travel?
No, we do everything together.
That's
like
awesome.
all of it's like very, like we both start musical ideas. We both work through the entire like way through a song, like just passing it back and forth and building off of that. And then for touring, it's very important to us that both of us are at every single show. Like
Yes.
it's an us thing, and it
That's
like
amazing.
definitely adds to the experience. Like we couldn't do it alone.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's so much of it is like none of us would be here without people who listen to your music and people who
Right.
follow your music and buy the merch and all of that stuff. And it's crazy because you guys have like, did you start like playing regional events, or were you kind of like, we're just going to focus on the music until it gets us the recognition we want to play the shows we want?
Yeah, so we actually had a couple managers back in the day that were like, we were very eager to like play shows,
Same.
and
Yep.
and you know, we were like kids and we were just like wanted to like, let's go perform, and they definitely like held us back on that in a good way, and like we're like, no, like let's like build
the
this,
music out there.
yeah, get the music out there, get the numbers up, like
Most
have, like, a
elementary,
following.
most
Yeah.
elementary managers would not say that. So
Mhm.
like, that's amazing that you guys were able to have like a management group who think long-term. Cause I think a lot of this industry and building a project is very like short-term versus long-term, and having that long-term vision has definitely come to like fruition for you both. So yeah, it's kind of like, now, unfortunately, I wish music was a bigger part of the pie. Like you have the social media, you have like the meet and greets, the in-person. Now you throw TikTok into the mix and it's like a whole nother world. But if the music like isn't there, it's really hard to build a stable long-term career out of it.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Are you guys in Ableton?
We are.
Okay. So walk me through your like creative process. Is it different every time, or do you guys like, since you're in this like melodic bass wheelhouse, do you have a formula?
I don't know. I feel like it's pretty different every time. Like we if we're together, like we just kind of like sit down and be like, okay, like what do we want to start with? Like we want to figure out like a chord structure, maybe some melody ideas, or maybe we just like start out like just figuring out like atmospheric type stuff to just kind of create like a soundscape before we actually really get into the actual like songwriting part of it.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, it depends on like what part of the song we start on to. Like sometimes we're like, okay, like this is going to be the beginning, or like let's just go straight for the drop. Like we have an idea for something. Just, I don't know. I think kind of depends.
Yeah, it's nice when I feel like, yeah, it's never the same, but I always love starting with like that atmospheric kind of like laying just an overall vibe for the song down first. I feel like that always like helps us create the best ideas.
Yes. I teach like a few students production, and like my main two things is like organization and preparation. And I feel like if you have that time batched in that like time period where you can go in and do sound design stuff and do atmospheric stuff and put them all in the same key, then when it comes to the creative process, you're like, okay, I have this here. You're not like staring at massive or phase planner serum. Like I have to make this bass right now. And then you spend 10 hours trying to make the bass and you lose the creative process.
We've like definitely stepped away from doing like a bunch of crazy sound design stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, like we have a few songs here and there, like Change It and Naked Soul, that have like crazy sort of like heavy bass sections. But for the most part, I feel like we're like more focused on like just getting like, I don't know, I'd say like guitar and piano and like strings and stuff like that, and kind of like creating the song that way, and then using like really almost basic like synth work and like atmospheric work to kind of like really brighten everything up and like bring it all together.
Absolutely, like those white noise layers, and then like strategically using when you're going to use like the bass browse and the stuff on like the fourth measure that's going to wrap it up before you go into the next phase. And that's, I think, super important. I think not only in like the subgenre that you all have worked on, but I'm seeing it more and more in projects where people are really bringing in more organic elements, more of them actually playing guitar, more of them actually doing the harmonies, even if they're not the real vocalist on the song. And it's like, I do feel like the future of like electronic dance music is incorporating live elements and like bring more live elements to the forefront, like Trivecta, you know, like Sam, like he's a G in doing that. And it's really cool to start seeing more projects who have been DJ orientated for a long time start to make those steps to incorporate live elements. I mean, you look at Porter 10 years ago, it's now, and he's a whole live fucking show. Like, you don't even got to see DJ on the stage. Like, it's done. Do you guys play instruments, or have you guys just kind of like dabbled, or was it straight into the DAW?
I've been playing piano for a long time. I don't really play as much anymore. But I started doing that before I ever got into EDM.
But it definitely helps.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And like, what about yourself?
Not really. Like, I have a couple of guitars that, we'll use on tunes occasionally, but not like a talented player at all. Just kind of like pluck certain things or like random ideas into Ableton and then make it sound good later.
Well, that's honestly all you really need to do. And having that, it's kind of crazy because you look at Ableton and you have the piano roll and it's like this infinite amount of possibilities versus like you being in a band where it's like you've got your two guitars, you've got your bassist, your piano, your vocals, that's it. You may have like a synth player. But it just like allows you to keep expanding. And when you have just a little bit of musical knowledge before you come into the DAW, that's a whole different language. It definitely like is nice to be able to hear in your head, like, hey, like this should probably go from, you know, an F to an A to a D to a C. And this is how these chord progressions are formed. It's just like, you know, the Eagles using every chord progression possible and then being like, everybody's done one in the history of ever. So you're not really creating new melodies or you're not creating new chord progressions. It's like your job to add that like subtle uniqueness, and that's what like makes your sound. Out of like your sound, like what would you define it as? Like, are you guys working on new music where you're like putting stuff together and it's got this like cohesiveness to it?
Yeah. So we can't really say too much about new stuff at the moment.
Okay. But it's on the way, which is exciting.
Like, a lot of it too.
Okay.
Like definitely, like a lot of it.
Album.
But yeah, we at the very beginning of this year, we rented a little cabin up in the woods.
Dream.
And we stayed up there for like 3 or 4 days and just wrote a bunch of songs and like kind of approached production from a different point of view than we usually do. And like, it was nice kind of like my phone barely worked up there. And like, it was just like, we just literally would wake up, make breakfast and like work all day, make lunch, like keep working, and then like take an edible and like watch Netflix for 20 minutes and then go to bed.
That's the dream, dude. That's the dream though.
It was great.
It's so like, as your production style being different, how would you say it like different? The fact that you were supposed to like, you were able to focus on it all day, or?
Yeah, I think a big part of it was just like that total focus. We hadn't ever really experienced that before. Like we didn't know what to expect when we first went. We were like, like I'm sure we'll start a few good ideas and we'll see what happens. But I don't think like we fully realized like what it would be like to be in a place just for that and not have like outside pressures or like anything else to like be thinking about.
Yes.
And so I think that definitely sort of influenced our ideas, because I don't know, I feel like we were more willing to be like, just make whatever we felt like making and not being worried about like, okay, what are people going to think about this? Like, I think we definitely, I don't know, just also that vibe of being up in the mountains and surrounded by nature, just like leaning into that, the organic sounds and kind of like indie electronic side of things. I'm super excited. Yeah. I love the stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. I like feel the vibe coming off of you guys, which is exciting. I was looking through your discography earlier, and I was like, I bet you they're working on something. I was like looking at it, I was like, all right, I see the little gap here. Like I can tell the pattern when they're going towards a big project that's going to be released. And I feel like, especially now where you guys have gotten in your project, it's really easy to feel the pressure of it being like a job where like you have to make something great. And like having that pressure on top of your shoulders, as well as like touring what's happening in the world right now, like it's really hard to get a clear mind and actually like allow yourself just to create for the sake of like creating.
Yeah, we definitely felt the stress of that at the end of last year. So we're both in school. I was working at like a shitty rental car place, and like we're both touring, like we're like gone like every weekend. And so we like didn't write music at all. Like it was like we just weren't creating new stuff, and it was like definitely stressful. Like we were like, oh, this is not good. Like and so like that little writing trip that we went on was definitely like the start of like getting back into the flow of things and writing a lot of new stuff.
Well, like life happens, and especially now, like I just got a job at a breakfast place because it's too much for me to just depend on what I'm making from touring or what I'm making from podcast ads or whatever with the economy and with like things that like a lot of people don't really want to talk about, but it's stuff where, you know, pre-COVID, when you got an offer to play, you were receiving transportation, you were receiving a hotel, you like those were a lot more common than now, where it's just like, hey, I'll see you at the show. And here's your base flat rate offer. And rental cars are fucking insane. I just had to rent a car in New York and drive to upstate New York, and it was like $500 for one day for a 12-hour period. And then flights on top of that. Everybody knows the flight issues. Like, and then even hotels. Like, we have family coming up to see us because we just moved here from Florida. And they're like, we can't find anywhere that's like cheaper than like $300 or $400 a night in a nice area. And it's definitely all things that have to be considered when it's hard when you're an up-and-coming artist, because you're still trying to grow your project. You don't want to say no to opportunities, but you also can't afford to go negative on every single fucking booking.
Yeah. It's we've had a few shows that have been pretty rough for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, more recently, we've been doing like we'll play the show and then fly out at like 5 a.m. like the same night.
Same.
Yep. And like
save that extra little bit.
Yeah. Saving the hotel cost helps out, and like you get the cheap flights and but oh my god, it totally screws up like the next like 3 days.
Yeah, it just takes a toll. And like I feel like we did like that occasionally at the end of last year with some of the shows, and so having that like on top of like school and like work and everything, it's like you get back and you're like,
burn out.
It's like, oh shit, I have a ton of homework I need to do and things like that. And so yeah, it's definitely a balancing act.
Yes,
for sure.
And you have to be able to like have that like break. Like I always wish there was more hours in the day so I could get more accomplished. But I do find when I'm able to take a break from focusing on music or just the emails or you trying to get a blog support or X, Y, and Z, it does have this feeling of refreshment. But every time you're not there because it's our passion, you're like, you should be doing more. You should be doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like this little voice in the back of your head that's like, if you just did this and pushed through this, like maybe you could achieve this. And I feel like it never stops. I feel like even for people like Seven Lions, he's still trying to achieve new things. He's still trying to curate new things.
He's honestly somebody that I look up to a lot for everything.
A multitude,
but his like ability to like keep like producing like incredible content like all the time, and like that man has not let up in like 10 years. And like that's like really hard to do. Like it's really hard to do, and he's been crushing it. And
so tell me about how you all got intertwined with Ben and Ophelia and him and all, you know, that whole label that really came to fruition in COVID, right?
Yeah, even before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we, I think like our first like actual Ophelia interaction was Jeff had just released the song "Dreamin'" in 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
And
yeah.
we just we like DM'd on Twitter and was like, hey, like, could we remix this? And he was like, yeah, sure. And like shot over the stems like later that night. And Brian like drove over to my house and was like, all right, let's start on this.
Dude, we crushed it. That was such a fun day.
Yeah, like we just like we're super excited, super motivated to work on that. And so that was kind of like our first interaction. And then it was, I think towards the end of that year or like start of the following year, we had some like original songs that we were wrapping up, and we were just like, hey, let's send this over to them and be like, you know, would any of these work on Ophelia? Like, do you like any of this stuff? And so that's how like our song "Take Your Time" ended up landing on there, and then the whole Moments EP later that year. It's just been kind of building ever since then.
That's so awesome. They have such like a loving, caring fan base. Like he's created a super safe space for all of his fans. Like when I was talking, I had Blank on the podcast like 2 weeks ago, and yeah, he's the shit. He also lives here. When I came here, I was like, oh my god, like Closey, Grizz, like you guys, like I had no idea that you even lived here, because Kyle was like, hey, if it doesn't work out this week, you know, he lives here. I was like, no fucking way. I feel like every time I turn around, like Taboo just moved here, Immersive, so many talented artists in the city, but I understand why. Like I totally get why. But I was telling Blank that, you know, it's very rare when you get a like 100% of a fan base where like you don't get an asshole in there. And like he's curated like the Nobodies group is very like that. I look at that as the Ophelia family as well, where everybody, it seems like all the artists are wonderful. It seems like all of the fans are like so supportive of you guys, and it's going to be really cool to continue growing. Do you guys have intentions of continuing to release with Ophelia, or are you guys going to spread out everywhere? Okay.
Like those people are like our favorite people.
Okay.
Yeah. They're so great.
It's such like a strong family mentality between just everybody, like not just the artists, but everybody on the entire Ophelia team and like the fans too.
Yeah.
So like I don't see us ever not wanting to release on there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's Ben seems great. Like I've talked to him quite a few times, and I loved, like, I got into them through the Twitch streams that they were doing over Ophelia, because they just got like off the wall.
There's the one that stands out to me was like the first time that Jeff did like a big Twitch stream.
Yeah,
it was like on a Zoom call. We all were on a Zoom call, and it was just like, it was super early on, and we just turned it into like a drinking night. So everybody just got like hammered.
I feel like Zoom. That was COVID in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I remember Trivecta passed out in his kitchen, and that was a highlight of that. But it was just weird, like being on stream in front of Twitch and like partying hard. But it was a good time.
The Twitch streams were great, and it gave this like inside to Sam Trivecta. He lived like a mile from me in St. Pete, so that was where I really saw him start to like curate his huge fan base that had just started to like grow and grow and grow. And in COVID, did you guys really feel like you made strides in your project as far as like musical definition and sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like, I think 2020 was just a really big year for us of like figuring out our sound, and like we're still definitely in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
With the new music that we're working on now, like it's that more than ever. I think 2020, like it was, you know, with COVID, we had just all this free time to just like really dive in into like just making music all day, every day.
We put out an 8-track EP. We put out a bunch of remixes. I think it was like something like 18 or 19 songs in total that year, which was like
COVID was massive.
We just made everything. And it was a really good time.
And I think like we felt the impact of it then, but then really felt it the following year once we started playing shows again. We're like, we have all this new music that we've never played before. Because I mean, like we started doing a decent number of shows at the end of 2019, and like we had a good amount of original music out, but it wasn't to the extent now where it's like, okay, we can make a set that is like mostly just our music,
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a special.
it was crazy coming back from everything. We did Global Dance last year, and we played like all of these songs for the first time, and like hearing everybody like scream the words to those songs like was so crazy because we've never had any songs like that before where people are like singing along, stuff like that. So
it's a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
I've had that happen for like, it was right when we came out of COVID. I played Sunset Music Festival in Tampa. And it was like the same thing. And it was kind of like, you know, just like how Global was kind of like your hometown festival. That was my hometown festival.
Yeah.
And you see people and you're like, they're singing my motherfucking words. They're like, what? They're what?
Yeah.
Which is like so amazing. And you guys work with female vocalists quite a bit.
Yeah.
Walk me through that process, because I had some vocalists on, Danny King and Soundar, who are both amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're, you know, I'm a vocalist myself, but, you know, predominantly a producer, put my vocals in my songs. I don't really search out for features and such. It seems like it's a whole nother world to be a vocalist.
Yeah, totally. It's, you know, definitely something that we can't do ourselves. And like, we have so much respect for all of those people. Like, I feel like some really notable vocalists and that have been huge for like us and our project are Run and Helander. Like, they're fantastic. They're great people, and like they're just so talented. And like every time we send them a song or get like, you know, do a remix for them or anything like that, like, I don't know, it just feels so elevated.
The vocals are like what make a song memorable. Like, you can remember melody. Like, I use Porter Language as a great example. Like, there are songs out there where you hear those melodies and you're like, that defines the song. But 9 times out of 10, and especially I would say in your subgenre, it's about those lyrics. It's about the chorus. It's about how, you know, how many stacks of harmonies they're doing to make it sound like this like epic saga of a song. Yeah. And that's why I feel like when you see it in like a live venue like Red Rocks, it's just like the most like massive feeling ever. Yeah. And like, I'm sure you guys felt that last night. It was sold out. Yeah. It looked like it was absolutely insane. And I'm sure it was cool to have like a whole family there.
Yeah. It was like definitely intimidating because we were playing like 25 minutes after doors opened. Yeah. And so like the amount of people there that were there like 25 minutes in was like so impressive, honestly. Yeah. And then like by the end of our set, like it was like pretty packed up to the top, which is absurd.
Yes.
Like
it was insane.
Yeah.
Yes. And everybody sees that too, because I know tons of acts that are like colleagues or friends of mine, and like they'll play that slot to almost no one a lot of the times because it's hard. It's a trek up there. You got to park. You got to walk. It's a whole ordeal, you know?
Yeah. I go to Red Rock shows a ton, like just being in the area and like definitely know what like those time slots look like. And I think we were really grateful for like the amount of people that came out early, and like, it was super special.
That's amazing. So do you guys have some more shows coming up that you're looking towards or looking forward towards?
Yeah. So we just announced so many things.
Jason Ross tour. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Touring with Jason is going to be like the best time ever.
Really?
Dude, love that guy. We're doing a single show with our buddy Griffin too.
Okay.
We're playing Brooklyn Mirage with him.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
And you're at the new Brooklyn Mirage, which looks like a fucking simulation almost, which looks insane.
Like, they dropped like the pictures for that, and then like I saw like a bunch of people start playing it, and I was like, we like need to get there.
Like, I didn't even know like what it looks like, and then we got booked, and Brian was like,
no, it's
holy shit,
it's insane. It's insane.
And then we're doing a couple headline shows. We've got Minneapolis and Hawaii, or Honolulu.
Are you at Skyway?
Yeah, we're doing
the Loft.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, love Skyway family. They're awesome. They're a great venue to like build up in, because they've got that super tiny room, and then they've got the loft, and then they've got the massive room. So it's like you can just like, and then you go to the Armory, which is like where Illenium was at. So
dude, Armory is so awesome. Yeah, we got to do that last
year. With
Illenium?
7 Lions.
With 7 Lions? Oh, that's so sick.
Dude, Pantheon there was so sick. Yeah, it was like us and Jim and Tori and Trifecta and Jason Ross. And then 7 Lions. So,
that whole entire tour just looked like a shit show of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
Because it's very rare when you see, and like that's why I feel like Ophelia is so special, when you see like all the artists are actually like family.
Mhm.
Like it's not just like, hey, nice to see you, whatever. It's like you guys actually know each other's names, you guys know stuff about your personal life, and it's like that's really, really special to be able to build with a label like that.
Totally. I feel like there was a big moment of that where right at the start of 2020, it was like February, we all got a cabin up in the woods together and like just went up there with like some CDJs and like literally just like partied and hung out for like 3 days and like went snowmobiling and like did all this stuff. And like,
that's awesome.
we had been like, we grew up like listening to a lot of these people's music and like had been inspired by them. And like, we're like, oh, like this is cool. Like it was so nervous, but like it was a crazy time. Like it was just so cool. And like, I feel like that was kind of where everything really started and like that big sort of family feeling.
You don't get people who like rent the cabin and invite other artists. Like that's very rare. So, and on top of that, being alongside people that you've grown up listening to and you're like, oh, you're the reason why I want to do this. And like, now we're hanging out at the cabin and like, it's a very surreal feeling, but it's also in the industry we're in. I feel like you're always focused on what's next instead of, living in the moment, appreciating what's happening now. Yeah. And those are one of those things where you have to take a step back and say, okay, like we did this, we're here, and it's super exciting for the future of your all's project. Before I go, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
How did you come up with your name, Last Heroes? Are you got like comic book, like Marvel, DC fans?
I mean, okay, like,
it's okay if it's so stupid.
We're like 14, 15 years old at the time. Like, I don't know, like we wanted just like
it sounded cool.
Like a cool name. And like, it was, we'd like thought of a lot of different ideas and we're like, no, not this. Like I think we like kind of were already going like sort of in like along that theme.
Okay. Yeah.
And like just, I randomly thought of it and was like, hey, like, what do you think of this? Like, yeah, let's do it. Like, this seems cool. And like, I don't know, like, it's just
it's a little like 15-year-old Brian and Garrett, like, yeah, let's go.
But like, but now, like, I don't know, I couldn't see it being anything else. Like, I love the name.
No, same.
I think it's great.
Well, it fits with your music because it's like this big, epic music, like superheroes to the rescue kind of thing, which is like still super cool, and it's a memorable name, even though like people may get lost and lost and stuff. It's still a memorable name. And then I need 3 pieces of advice for aspiring artists in the melodic bass field. How to grow their project. And I mean, you guys literally DM 7 Lions. I tell people to do that all the time. Like most artists will respond. We're in one of the only like genres in EDM or like in music where I feel like we're like touchable. Like that 4th wall can be broken. It's not like I'm messaging like Cardi B, like, hey, what's up? Can I remix your track? You know? So what's some piece of advice you would give aspiring?
Yeah, I think that is a huge piece of it. Whether it's like, even like doing like a bootleg remix like we did with Cusp like years ago and just like, tagging 7 Lions on Twitter or whoever the person is, and just being like, hey, if you could check this out, that'd be awesome. And, like there's a good chance that they'll see it. And even if they don't necessarily respond, like they see that name, they hear it and they're like, okay, like,
yes,
they recognize that now.
It's that consistency.
Yeah. I speaking of consistency, I feel like that is something that is also like the biggest part of everything is like when you're starting to make music, you're not going to make good music and you're going to make so much bad music, and you have to just keep making bad music and like keep putting it out. Like just release it. Don't sit on stuff. Like just like kind of let go. Like just be willing to let go and just put out all of your art all of the time and just be consistent with it. You'll get way better. Like you'll grow a lot. Like it'll just happen.
I feel like some of like my like least favorite songs I've ever released are some people's like favorite, so you never know when art's gonna like resonate with people.
Yeah, totally. And then yeah, I don't know, just be nice to people too. I feel like that's like
Be
the
nice
best.
is
Like just
great.
like just
We
go
need more
for it.
genuine people. We need more
Yeah.
like non-assholes.
Yeah.
But you guys exist in like I would say a lunch table of very nice individuals.
Yeah.
You know, Sam is one of the nicest people I've like ever fucking met. And it's really cool to be able to, you know, I didn't know a ton about you guys before I sat down with you all today, but it seems like you've had like an awesome journey and you guys are just getting started and it's very exciting to hear you have a big lump sum cough probably album cough on the way and or a massive EP and I'm sure all your fans will be super stoked to hear it. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on today.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
this was
Killed
fun.
Red Rocks last night.
Yeah.
Killed Church. It's very exciting. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Lost last day. Heroes. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
See ya.